All right, all you devils out there, happy Bitcoin Friday. Here we are on what's the 7th of February here. Now, we'll get to the TA in just a second. I've got some interesting things to show you with regards to Bitcoin, new count that I think it accommodates this price action that we've got here. So stand by. We'll get there in a second. Before we do, for those of you that may not be aware, or for those that have perhaps a passing interest in this, we're inside 4 days into the launch of 2.0, TradeDevils 2.0 as we're calling it. It's a complete reworking of our entire platform, not just our website, but all of the internals, the entire belt system, everything we do. The Discord's been completely restructured. All the content's moved over to Vimeo. So it really is a complete ground up rebuild of our entire platform. So I'm very excited about it. As I've said before, we're very, very proud of it. We've worked extremely hard on it. Everyone on my team is just putting in long hours. So thus the reduction in content that you're seeing over here on YouTube. We've just been head down, just hammering nonstop to get it done by the deadline. So before we get to our TA here, I'll just do a quick review here. So as you can always come over here, the link is directly underneath the page. So just quickly, I want to review some of the features, things that are different here now. So of course you will know us for trading education, all of that. And of course we have a very international and global community of traders that work with us. The market analysis, of course, that will be a cornerstone of everything that we're doing. And then we've got our own set of custom tools and indicators. These are all Ninja Trader focused, right? There's an emphasis on day trading, but they can be used for swing trading as well. Totally written, coded from the ground up, entirely uniquely ours. That will be available to you as well. And then I just draw your attention to the fact that we're now at, as I said, 4 days to launch. So you've only got 4 days left to become an original member and to take advantage of some of this very aggressive promotion that we're offering here. And again, I emphasize, it's not just the discount of the price here, which is attractive. It's that we're using the term grandfathered in, right? So you'll never experience a price increase. So anything we do in the future, anything we talk about, new courses, new material, you're locked in at this price point. So no price increase should we find ourselves needing to do that down the road. You're forever locked in at those prices. So just something to keep in mind here. This won't come again, right? So last chance here. Right. Lastly, here before we get to the TA, right, just things that are new here. So we've broken up our membership, so you now have multiple options. So heavy emphasis here. We have we've got a full-featured free on-ramp for you to participate with us at TradeDevils. So this includes complete access to our white belt course, which has been re-recorded, rewritten. We've updated everything. It's all very literally current content. So I think there'll be a lot of value to be extracted there. And then once you finish the white belt, it's just a question of whether or not we've sparked your interest enough for you to want to pursue higher belts, and then you would move into the educational, right? But another option is to go social, where you wouldn't have access to the belt system, but you would still have access to the community. You'll get early access to any of the TA videos that we release, and of course we've got this nice little checkbox list here, so you can see and compare and contrast what's available to you in those different plans. Right, so very worthwhile. And then again, right, so I emphasize here, because it looks like if you click that you're going to get billed. That's not the case. It's just telling us which of these three you're interested in, because we have to send you an invite. So for example, if you were interested in the social here, again, all you're doing is getting on the invite list. Right. And additionally, though, as I've mentioned before, we're going to send you your affiliate link. So you'll have a referral link should you like what you see enough to want to refer anyone in your network or universe here. Then we'll pay you up to $50 per new member coming in, obviously based on the package that they choose. But that's a nice way to kind of get a little kickback from us, because we appreciate you referring us out to your community and your universe. All right, with all of that said, I just remind you, 4 days, right? And particularly the OG, that's gone forever. Okay, guys, let's get to the TA. Okay, guys, so before I reveal the count here that we now think confirms for us that we have a very high probability that the low is in, just say a couple things. One, I've not seen this count anywhere. And like most of you, I keep an eye on Twitter. If I'm kind of follow some well-respected Ellioticians, and if I see a count, I'll take a look at it. I'm curious if it's something I hadn't thought about, or kind of wondering what they're thinking about. Well, I mean, for the last, we're now 4, 5, 6 months into this correction, I've not seen this count anywhere. And truth be told, I think this is the only valid count now that gets us to complete down at this last pivot low before we've started what now appears to be a solid impulse. Now, additionally, here, and we'll get here in a second. As I mentioned in the intro, we've re-recorded all of the educational content, and one of the benefits of doing this is forced me to go back and literally go back through all of the rule set guidelines. As they often say, if you really want to learn something, teach it. Right? It really reinforces it in your mind, and it solidifies. And as I've mentioned before, I think it was 2000, I think it was 2009 or 10 when I got my Elliott Wave certification. So 10 years old off of that, and certainly I still make mistakes. Most of us do. Just for fun, we have a list. So if you realize, oh, okay, you got your certification, that's great. But you let 10 years go by. I show you this. We have a list of all of the Elliott Wave rules, and I just show you. This is 9 pages at this font size, single space. Just look at it. That's just the rules for impulses. Those are the guidelines for impulses. Zigzags, guidelines, flats. I mean, look at this. This is just diagonals, diagonal guidelines, triangles. Look, I mean, each one of these is a rule that needs to be memorized. Right, so when people bitch about Elliott Wave, really what they're saying is they don't want to put the work in. Right? This is a lot of work to commit all of this to memory. A lot of work, but part of the reason why we put it into a belt system. I mean, this is 9 solid pages. Every dot is a rule or a guideline. Every single one. So when I say, it's easy to miss something, right? Those are a lot of rules to stay on the tip of your tongue. So when I show you this did not come from me. One of the benefits of for me in starting this company, I've worked with some of the best Elliotticians anywhere. They're better than I am, right? And this count came from Sensei Tutum, who's a level 2 certified Elliottician. One of the best I know, and he showed me this count before today's video. I said, I'll be damned, because I kept complaining about the fact that we didn't have a solid finish. And he brought this count to me, and I'll be damned if it doesn't solve the problem. So let's take a look at it here. And again, I've not seen this from anyone else. So let's just review it here, because the problem had always been that this section did not work as an ABC. It looks like a 5, not a 3. And so it felt like such a force fit. So I had been, kind of cautiously optimistic here because I didn't like the pivot low. Now, one thing right off the bat, which is kind of interesting to note, right? We look at where all the high volume is here in terms of the area that we pivot here. And then as many of you have seen and acknowledged here, we're within a few ticks of the 50 in log scale. But it was this section that didn't complete it. Well, it was partly tied to the fact that so many of us had been counting this as a flat, right? So we thought 3, 3, 5. Now, granted, in a flat, it's, we're not beyond. I mean, you could still call that a flat, even though we get if this were the C of the flat, we're fairly far beyond this. So, you're on the edge here of compliance here of that rule, but you could still count that as a flat. But it solves the problem if we go A, B, C here into the W rather than here, because from that, then I can get this triangle. So I can go A, B, C, C, D, E into my X wave here. Now I finish with an ABC. So it's not a double, it's a single. So we get W, X, A, B, C. I still have the expanded flat here in the B wave of the C, but 5 down into the A, 3 into the B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives me my Y of the Z, gives me my Y of the 2. So now this impulse in context makes more sense. So I get much more confidence in this pivot low here. So my thanks to Sensei Tutum for bringing this to my attention. It's first I'd seen it from him as well. I know he's been working on this. So this is the valid count here that works. So that gives us a comfort level rather than a discomfort in, wait a minute, how can I have an impulse here? How am I figuring out, how am I getting that low to finish here? Well, there it is, lo and behold. So there you go. Okay, so on the assumption that this is our 2 low in here, well, we've got a very solid looking impulse coming off of this. It looks like we might be approaching the top here, although it's never a good idea to call a top, right, until you see evidence of the market starting to roll over, because there's been a couple of spots here where it looked like, oh, okay, we're done, and it has more legs to it. So we can certainly look at this per the idea that 2 is in. Well, then if something's going in here, look, high probability we've got a 1 going in, which would suggest all of this is still yet to come. All right, so I'm out here on an 8-hour. Let's go down to the hourly, and I'll show you there's a couple of different ways. Now, and this is, part of the, it's both the, for an Elliottian geek, right? It's part of the fun and part of the challenge of Elliott Wave is that two counts can be valid, and we can disagree on them. So in actual fact, this is Sensei Tunum sent me his count of this move up here, and I disagree with him. And I'll show you both counts here, if I can. Oh shit, where are they? Here we go. Okay, so let me show you his count first. Oh, pardon me. Here, I'll just stay with this, because this is the count that I'm sticking with, that I think fits better. So I think we get an extension in the 1 here. So we still have an impulse here, but and I'll speak to what we were talking about last Friday. So 1, 2 here, because this is to the tick 50. I think we can go 3, 4, 5 here to give me the 3. So I still have my 3 here. Nice little zigzag into the 4. So it's a little bit unusual here, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I end with a diagonal to give me the 5th. Still gets me to the 3. Right, so I understand, right? So unless you're really into Elliott Wave, you can be like, well, fuck, man, why do I care, right? So what's going on over here, right? So count it one way or the other. But for those of you that kind of like the puzzle and the challenge of solving an Elliott Wave count, I'll show you what I think. This is how many are counting this, and here's my issue with this count. Right, I think the relationship between 2 and 4 is too extreme, right? So we'd be calling this the 2 wave, or just this little pit, it's a 3, compared to this is the 4 wave. So I think the symmetry is too off to put the 4 there. And additionally, since this is a perfect 50, it lends itself to the 2, I think, more so than the 4. But my issue is the lack of symmetry here in this. Yeah, sure, we of course we know the rule of alternation, but I think the size of, plus it kind of looks like a 5 anyway. So, but either way, you still got to trade it as correctively. So this has to be the B, this has to be the A, B, and the C of it to get that to finish. But kind of an interesting variation on the count. Ultimately, doesn't matter. We still get a 3 here, but just two different opinions there. Right, for what that's worth, that's Elliott Geeks only, right? We'll appreciate that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So the symmetry here is just gorgeous, right? We can't script them any better, right? How beautiful this is in terms of just if you were doing stick drawings, which I've been doing a lot of, right? And all the video content as I've been reworking the white belt. I mean, that's just, I can't draw them any. It's just perfect. Just a perfect looking impulse. All the subdivision plays, yeah, with a little questionable here. All that subdivision works. I've got this nice channel that's containing it. It's all just beautiful here. The symmetry's good. The wave relationships are good. So just standard ops here. If I pull from my 2 to my 3 high here, we come right to the 38. Now look what we've done here. Now we're hovering around the algo target. But additionally, right, just more traditional Elliott Wave analysis, we grab the length of the 1 projected from the pivot of the 4. So here's well, we're right in the window. Let me take this one off. All right, so we're 2 and through. So length of the 1 projected from the 4, we're now just coming right here, just lovely into the 127, 138. Now again, I'm not calling a top there yet, even though it looks like we're a little top heavy. You can see over here the high volume node here. We've got the market is stalling here, but the symmetry of this would imply that if we're not near a top, we've got top light price action that's going on here. Now look, so of course this is just the kind of thing where you might look to your oscillators here. So if I try and reposition these here, you wouldn't call that substantial divergence here. Well, let's see. I think it was a little bit better here. On a 3 hour, you see it a little bit better here. We get a little bit more of that. And, if you wanted to use this as well. So we're getting a little bit of a decline in the buying power here. Some divergence here. So we get a clean 4 with the Elliott oscillator getting to 0 and then coming back up. So we get that divergence. It's not substantial divergence, but we got into the overbought, right? We're over 70 here with the RSI. So enough here to imply Again, given the fib relationships and the beautiful symmetry of it, the reasonable expectation that we're at a potential turning point. Well, let's just carry that through. So if that's our pivot here, now heavy emphasis if, right? Because it looked like the pivot was in right here, right? It looked like we had it, and we were going to roll over, and it was just a little kind of a wiki ABC here, where we have the pump down, pump up. Right, that's typical short-term Bitcoin stuff. But then we get the push up here, now holding sideways again, starting to build some volume here in this higher volume node here. Again, doesn't mean that we can't keep going. So we're going to be able to definitively qualify this based on what happens next. So if indeed let's just for the sake of discussion say we've got the pivot up here of the one wave. So the assumption is if this is the 2, well, this obviously not the 3. So we'd be from this pivot, we'd be putting in a potential 1, looking for the 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let me get those. Let's go up to something we can't miss. Here we can go in blue. Okay, so potentially now a 1 wave, we're approaching a pivot high for the 1 wave. Well, if and again, I don't know that this is it, but if we are in this neighborhood, well, of course, all we're doing is looking for a retrace down here to our high probability location. Now, is it coincidence? Note here where the wave 1 high is, where that low volume is node is relative to our wave structure. So if we were going to come down for a 2, golden zone sitting right here, kind of interesting, right? But that works, but if we keep going higher here, then obviously that's going to move up. So sitting right here as we look right there, again, I don't know, right? Going into the weekend is always a bit of a wild card as to what to anticipate over the weekend, but this is where my count would be sitting just like this here with the wave 2, and I'd be adjusting accordingly based on how high we go here. And that'd be the obvious location we'd be looking for. So I'm just not expecting anything crazy here. Right, all the structure would play rather nicely. Right, we've got all this so prior resistance. If we're going to come that deep, excuse me, I don't know that we are. We've got a nice high volume node over here. Right by the 50. Nothing says we have to go down that low. But if we're going to start down, prior 3, 4, 1 degree lower, right? So this area here also potentially the kind of zone that you might look for support. But right now, there is an alternate that would have us going. Well, we could have this could be a 1-2, right? So there's potential here if we were going to get an extension in the 5th that we're not done here. And it remains to be seen. So how would we qualify that? Well, if this pivot low here, if we come here and we're just going to retrace something smaller, right, like this, then we could have an extension in the 1. We're still putting in, we'd still be seeking the top of the 5th, right? So always a candidate here. And part of what's influencing me is you'll recall this pivot here was a perfect golden zone. So from this swing to this swing here, we get right into golden zone. Well, there's the, I've shown this 10,000 times, right? So here's the algorithm taking its profit here. So from golden zone, here's the target reaction. Now we keep going. Now we're going up to get second target. Right, wouldn't surprise me at all. Now looking in here at this, right? So we know, right? Just a clear, just right to algo target. So now here, are we done here? It's a little hard to see. I'm on a 3 hour, but 1, 2, 3, 4. Not. I sure as hell wouldn't be selling up here. Now that's me. I rarely short Bitcoin. I wouldn't. I don't think there's any reason to be looking to be aggressive on the short side here, trying to play the 2. Now some will disagree with me, right? I mean, you could do it. You'd have a very tight stop, right? If you're certain that we're done up here, and you're looking for a retrace back to this level, well, there's 16 to 1. Right, so you can't. I mean, the risk reward. I completely understand that. Even given that a little room up there, you're still gonna get 12 to 1, and that's just assuming we go back to 50 to 618 wave 2 location points, right? But right, that's not what I would do. I mean, I'll be looking here. So the next thing I want to see is from this low. If I've got a pivot here, what happens here? And so I've got this structure sitting right here, obviously. Right? So I've got if we're going to come down here, because I think that's also a contender here. This could just be the 1, 2 before we go up into a 3 and get an extension. Getting a little ahead of myself here, but that we'll wait and see. So right now, all I know is that we're just basing here. So note the high volume node is just being created as the market is stalling here. Where are we going to go? So you've got a couple of different spots, but I think the good news is here now, I think we can be more aggressive about the long side here now that we have a way to resolve this as our wave 2 low here that gets rid of some of that discomfort here about the quality of the count into that low. So very exciting, right? So this all nicely timed, right? So obviously we were excited about a potential crypto bull right as we launch into our new platform. But again, right, I mean, we're plenty of assets that you can apply our methodology on beyond just crypto. So if it doesn't happen, well, so be it, right? No shortage of opportunities across the many assets that we trade, but it would be exciting to get a crypto bull to actually kick. All right, so I think that's about everything I can cover here. It's a bit of a hurry up and wait to now waiting for retracements to start and then qualifying and confirming based on how far they go in relation to this clear impulse. All right, guys, there you go. Okay, all right. So again, as I will just sign off, if you have questions about what we're doing with the new version, with 2.0, or any of the opportunities to participate in some of that discounting and some of the original membership options for you, don't hesitate to ask. We're easy to reach, and we will be very responsive if you have questions about it. Okay, guys, have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing. Well, I guess next time I talk to you, it'll be after the launch. So, all right, you guys have a good one. Talk to you then.